Now, I was originally planning on doing a full-on documentary about Rock on the Range, just documenting my drive there and the bands themselves and everything, but the thing was, I had to bring a different camera with me, and the battery life on it was absolutely abysmal. So, I eventually decided, screw it, I'll just do a talk about it during my vlog or whatever, so here we go. So, I got there and, well, the lines were crazy long to say the least. It's like, I arrived there at around 10:45 and it took me about an hour to get in because the gates wouldn't open. And when they did get open, it took me around 15-20 minutes to get in. But let me tell you, it was worth the wait! The first band that I saw there was Kill Devil Hill, and the main reason why was because they have Pantera bassist Rex Brown. Which brings me to the highlight of their set. Their last song was a cover of Mouth for War by Pantera. Oh, and check this out. Anselmo came on to sing with them. Now, it's pretty much as close to a Pantera reunion as we're going to get right now, and get this. At the end, Rex Brown threw out a bunch of his picks, and one ended up getting stuck in my jacket. Yeah, I know, there was originally paint on both sides of it, one side saying Kill Devil Hill, the other having the Monster Energy logo, but it peeled off. I don't know why. I didn't stay for entire sets most of the time for the bands that I wasn't really all that familiar with. The two bands in particular for the first day being King and 1,000 Foot Crutch. Now, King were pretty good. They were a bit strange, but they were still good. And 1,000 Foot Crutch in particular was very good. I mean, Christian rock bands tend to be incredibly hit or miss for me, but thankfully 1,000 Foot Crutch was on the former end of the spectrum. But to me, the highlights of day one definitely came in the form of Black Label Society and Down. Black Label Society in particular was when I got to crowd surf for the first time. Granted, it ended up failing, but thankfully I landed on my feet rather than my face. And Down was also really great. I mean, Phil Anselmo is an amazing vocalist, and plus Rex Brown got to join them for one of their songs. And it was also my first time successfully crowd surfing, as in getting all the way to the end. And that was day one. Day two, without question, had the best lineup. I mean, granted, the lineup at the beginning did not catch my interest at all. And in fact, I actually got there early, around 2:30, just so I could have Exodus sign something. But what happened was that through a combination of late arrivals, long lines, and me not knowing that I had to buy something in order to get them to sign something, I ended up missing in just barely. Thankfully, this didn't dampen my mood for the whole day, and by the time I was finished with the first band that I saw, Avatar, I was already feeling great again. To me, the big underdog band of the day was Nothing More. I mean, they're an incredibly recent band, sure, but they're really making a big splash. They ended up having a lot of technical problems in the middle of their set, but they actually played through it really well. So then I actually got out right during the last song so that I could wait the extra mile so that I could get a good spot for Exodus. Because it's like, if I had actually bothered to film day two, the entire thing probably just would have been me fanboying over Exodus and Avenged Sevenfold. And my God, did they deliver. Unfortunately, I ended up having to lose my well-earned spot early on because I kept getting moshed into despite being in the front. Yeah, that brings me to another thing about Exodus. The mosh pits were bigger than the stage! I mean, granted it was a small stage, but still, that's huge! Like I mentioned earlier, Exodus are an absolutely phenomenal band. I also got to see Chevelle, which was really a great opportunity. I mean, I grew up listening to The Clincher quite a lot and really left an impression on me. To me, the other highlights of the day were the two big bands, Slayer and Avenged Sevenfold. Even though they've lost 50% of their lineup, they've still got it. But one thing I noticed about them is that throughout the recent tour they've been doing, they've only been playing old stuff. But for this festival, as well as festivals in Europe, they've brought back some of the newer stuff like World Painted Blood and Disciple. I tried crowd surfing twice during Slayer's set. Part 1 was successful, but Part 2 was a gigantic failure. A bunch of other people were crowd surfing right around that time, and I ended up getting stuck in this one area. And when I had some people lift me up to get out again, security turned me back. So I had to walk all the way back out with my jacket rumpled up and my shoes untied. And people kept stepping on my shoes, and constantly the first thing that I did when I got out was make sure that they didn't cut off circulation to my foot. It was an absolute mess, but they were still phenomenal. And that brings me to Avenged Sevenfold. It was my third time seeing them, and I enjoyed them just as much as ever. Another thing I really liked about their set is that they brought some stuff from City of Evil back into the play. Now, City of Evil is my favorite album of theirs, and frankly, it was just refreshing to see them play Burn It Down. And before you ask, no, that's not going to be on my top 15 Avenged Sevenfold songs list. And Day 3. Day 3 I felt had the weakest lineup, although there were still some really good bands like Gemini Syndrome and Alter Bridge. I ended up wandering throughout most of the day, but when it was good, it was really good. Gemini Syndrome brought it, Alter Bridge were absolutely amazing, and Five Finger Death Punch was great. Again, I have the least to say here because most of the time I just ended up wandering, although I did catch plenty of Mastodon's sets. So that concludes my thought video for Rock on the Range. It was a phenomenal festival, and I can't wait to see what the lineup for next year is going to be. Spirit of Vengeance, and I'll see y'all later.